I have 25 years of experience using drugs. I have 12 years of experience studying the causes and reactions of drugs. Okay? So if there's any questions that you guys have, Richard and myself can answer them. You know, and a lot of times you think this is funny and, you know, it's drugs, it's a good time. I'm on the other side. I work as a therapist for drug and alcohol, and I see the dangers, and I see the things that happen, and I see the death constantly. And it really helps me out, man. So that's why I'm doing things like this today. What we're looking at is from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, and it's bringing the full power of science to bear on drug abuse and addiction. These people have done research to see what happens to the brain when you're using drugs, what happens to your heart, what happens to your liver, what happens to your nervous system, okay? And eventually what happens is, you know, people die from using drugs. So we're going to look at this real briefly. Drugs cause addiction. Does anybody have any questions about what addiction is? No? Addiction is not just when you use some drugs. When you're young, you might experiment, you might try some things, but that doesn't mean you're a drug addict. Addiction occurs sometimes long before you ever pick up a drug, and in combination with environmental factors, because we do know there's a genetic predisposition to drug addiction. Look at this guy. If you can see this homeless man laying on the street, and he looks all dirty and bedraggled. You know, yes, you can become homeless from using drugs. You know, there is crime involved, there's violence involved. But this is not what your average addicted person looks like. You know, it looks like, you know, I should say Richard or Mike or Eric or Vicky or any one of us here. I won't say me because I'm a little wacky right now. But, you know, you can't judge a person by how they look, because this disease does not discriminate. It can be any one of you. And actually, like 4 out of 15 people will become addicted. So if there's 15 of you here, you know what I'm saying? Drugs affect you economically. You know, they cost us extra in healthcare, productivity. There's a lot more accidents when you're using drugs. There's neurotoxicity, AIDS, cancer, and mental illness are all associated with drug use. But let me say this, from being depressed or having anxiety, those things don't cause addiction. Addiction is a primary disease. That means it stands on its own. It isn't caused by other things. 4 out of 10 U.S. AIDS deaths are related to drug abuse. Okay? So people contract AIDS through getting high or drunk, having a blackout, not using the proper protection, and that's what happens. And this is research to prove it. So think about that. This is about the cost to society, which is not really that interesting, but seriously, when you think about you guys trying to get a job in the future and buying a house and all those things, whenever we're spending money on drugs, alcohol, or tobacco, we're sending money into an area that causes losses all the way around. People dying from cancer, people dying from overdoses, people sell drugs illegally, no taxes are paid. It's economics. Addiction is a brain disease. Okay, so I was born in the 80s, well, I was born in the 60s, no lie. I was born back in the day where they had this commercial on TV. This is your brain on drugs, right? It was the old egg in the frying pan, and it's just, you know, made my brain hurt thinking, oh my God, this is what drugs does to your brain. But that wasn't really like the full picture. Today we know that addiction is a compulsive behavior. It's a continued abuse of drugs despite negative consequences. So bad things start to happen. You start to get arrested, you start to maybe lose your license, or you drop out of school. And you know, even if this doesn't apply to you, you might know some friends who it does apply to. So it's really important to have an understanding of this. You know what I'm saying? So continued use, if you see your friends who keep using even though they're getting arrested and they're having problems with their family, they're dropping out of school, they probably have an addiction problem. Persistent changes in the brain's structure and function. And if I don't teach you anything else today, I want you to know this. Because as you use alcohol, one weekend of binge drinking is killing thousands of brain cells. Okay? Continued use of alcohol continues to kill brain cells. Some of us don't have that many to spare, you know what I'm saying? This stuff changes the structure of your brain. Your brain is not the same as it was before you started. And when we think about being as young as most of the people in this room are, your brain isn't even fully developed yet. It's not fully developed until you're 25 years old. So, you know, that frontal cortex where you make that decision making. Do I hear music? It's not even ready for this changes that happen from music. Ecstasy, methamphetamine, marijuana, alcohol, anything that you might think is natural, who have killed people under the influence in a blackout and are in jail serving time and don't remember that they did it. So that's the kind of stuff I want you guys to think of when you're partying, because I know we party. You know, I know we experiment, I know we try things, but you want to stay away from those hallucinogens especially. Yes.
With spice, also, I talked to a kid, literally, heart started pounding through the chest. You know, like when things don't have a reputation, people kind of don't, there's nothing, you know, you hear heroin, and it's had time to scare people. You know what I mean? Spice is legal, whatever. You know what I mean? But this kid literally almost went into cardiac arrest. You know, some of the things that aren't illegal are some of the more dangerous things. Like, just because they haven't had time, they haven't been tested, people haven't fallen out. When ecstasy first came around, it had no reputation at all. And then I started having friends that died because they dehydrated. You know, and because of different things associated with ecstasy, had bad experiences with it. Chronic depression, because they couldn't produce serotonin and dopamine anymore. They couldn't feel joy. You know, so just saying that, like Barry's talking about with the bath salts, just because it's new and it's some new angle, spice is dangerous. Bath salts
are dangerous from what I mean, who knows what it does to your brain? Because we know what drugs do to your brain. Some of you might have seen this in school. All right, this is a brain on cocaine. And if you can't see it, like this first brain is fully functional and it's okay. This is the front of your brain that makes all your thoughts, makes your conscious decisions. Okay, in 3 to 4 minutes, there's part of this brain that's already lit up from using this cocaine. And they can see the changes happening in there, of the serotonin changing, the dopamine's changing. In 10 to 20 minutes, it's all over. Okay? That makes this a highly addictive drug. You know, then you want more because the high's over. When you use marijuana, which I would guess most of you may have tried, if you haven't, don't bother, it makes changes in your brain. It starts to change and kill off parts of your brain. Does your head hurt? Yes. It's really a lot more dangerous than you guys think. When you take a hit of weed, your heart starts to race. Your heart will start to speed up. It affects your lungs. We know that it has carcinogens and cancerous agents in it. We know that it affects your childbearing. Do you know that it gets into your whole system? It also will cause memory loss, which I just was losing it there for a second. I am, and I know that I have problems with my brain, with my nervous system, and with my memory because of the things that I did in my body. And that's why I do this. That's why I'm here today to talk to you guys about this before we let you have a great time listening to the music and having food and fun. But like, I take this real seriously because I've watched a lot of people die from this, and I don't want to see that happen to you. I don't want to see it to happen to your friends. So be aware of what's going on out there. If you know somebody who's in trouble, call me. Come by, because we're here to help. Okay?